Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I'm your host, Ab-Stract, and this is the Ab-Stract section. So today we're going to be learning how not to argue. So from time to time, I go onto Twitter and engage with people about anime. And very often I'll find people who just don't know how to argue. So this video will be breaking down a conversation I had with a one Sal Goodman, and it'll speak for itself. So despite what you guys see on screen, we're not actually going to be talking about if Naruto can run this gauntlet. I honestly could care less about that. That is not why we are here. So in this video, we're going to be learning about begging the question, circular reasoning, and not having sufficient evidence, as well as the burden of proof, what I like to call the burden of truth. So let's briefly go over these, and then throughout the conversation, we'll see where they show up. Actually, screw that. We just gonna get right into it because this is absolute madness, guys. So let's just get right into it. So we have Sal Goodman talking with my good friend Shinigami. If you guys don't know Shinigami, give him a follow. He's a really funny guy. I like him. So yeah, he's talking to Shinigami. Basically, you know, if Naruto can run his gauntlet, I don't really care about that. I'm interested in the other things. So Sal starts off by saying, Kaguya creates dimensions that are universes, and Naruto is relative to Kaguya at the end of Shippuden. So Naruto is universal, right? We're gonna ignore this because I'm not here for Bleach stuff. I don't really care right now. So I say to him, you can't determine AP off of a creation feat. He says to me, we can though. Kaguya can create things which require a energy output suitable. So if someone wants to damage that person, then they need an energy output relative to it. I say, quantify the energy suitable for creation and then provide evidence and proof for your answer. Hold up. And this is what he posts. Now we're gonna take a soft pause right here, right? We're gonna look at this. Kaguya can create things which require an energy output suitable. So if someone wants to damage that person, then they need an energy output relative to it. If you don't already know what the issue is here, then allow me to explain, right? Because this would be a good example of begging the question and circular reasoning all in one, if we're being completely honest. So let's look at this. So first off, what is begging the question? How do we define it? What is circular reasoning? How do we define these things? So first, begging the question is essentially when a premise in an argument assumes the conclusion. It's an argument which asks the reader to simply accept the conclusion without providing real evidence. The argument simply ignores an important assumption that the argument rests on. A good example is, the court's decision must be fair because it was made by an unbiased jury and judge. I'll say it again. The court's decision must be fair because it was made by an unbiased jury and judge. This example basically asks us to suspend any type of information gathering about these statements. Who vetted the people to know that they are actually unbiased? That's what would beg the question in this scenario. How do we know they're fair? Exactly. Oh, well, they're fair because they're unbiased. They're unbiased because they're fair. Well, we need some information in between there, or else we're just begging the question. Circular reasoning is essentially when the evidence used to support the claim is just a repetition of the claim itself. And we're going to see that in there as well. So let's look at his thing again. His first premise is Kaguya creates dimensions that are universes, right? Premise 1. Premise 2. Naruto is relative to Kaguya. Premise 3, which would be his conclusion, Naruto is universal. So, two premises and a conclusion of Naruto being universal. That's fine. I'm not really here to argue that necessarily. I kind of want to see where this goes and how he takes it. So, what do? I ask for proof. Quantify the energy suitable for creation and then provide evidence and proof for your answer. His response to this is, you need chakra to prove. I don't even know what he was trying to say here. I'll just say 4 because it should work. You need chakra for jutsus and feats. That's true. Just like how you need in 100 fighters and hundreds of fodder shinobi to destroy the moon. So you need chakra for jutsus and feats, just how you need in hundreds of fodders shinobi to destroy the moon. It's very weird how he typed this. But let's take a look at this. So his evidence is the explanation of how chakra is molded, created, and therefore used into ninjutsu. If you already know what this is, you know this doesn't answer the question at all in the least bit, in the slightest bit. This does nothing to answer my question of quantify the energy suitable for creation. That was the question. Quantify the energy suitable for creation and to provide evidence and proof for your answer. He shows me this useless scan, which tells me nothing about the energy for creation. Right? We have no values. We have no numerical values. We have no numerical values or anything. And then this chakra canon from the movie, which I did not watch and I don't need to watch it, along with Kaguya's Expansive Truth-Seeking Orb, Zagudo Dama or whatever. If you know Naruto the series, you know this does nothing to answer my question, and I'll put this on screen to make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, going back to question begging, he says, Kaguya can create things which require an energy output suitable. So if someone wants to damage that person, then they need an energy output relative to it. In his case, he would be assuming to know the values of creation. His whole assumption is that the values for destruction are the same for the values of creation. Hence why he's using the chakra canon as an example and the Gudo Dama as an example. But he's not giving us any actual evidence for either of these things in between all that, which is why it's essential. I ask for, let me scroll up. Which is why it's essential I ask for quantifiable proof about the energy as far as creation is concerned. So he says what he says. I go down, I respond with, the difference is destruction can be quantified, determined, and mathematically proven. This is a fact. You haven't given me anything for creation, and in fact, you're question begging. I ask you for something quantifiable, and you say it takes energy. Chakra specifically. Okay, how much chakra? Right? He says, it ain't my problem that you aren't reading and paying attention. So, I'm very used to this. I'm very familiar with the Naruto rhetoric and attempts to misdirect, distract, and detract. I say, yeah, none of that is going to work on me. You haven't established how creation necessitates AP. Simply saying 100 fodders could destroy X doesn't mean 100 fodders can create X with that same energy. This is what he has to prove. This is what he has yet to demonstrate. He says, never said that, just use the argument that certain amounts of chakra is needed to perform. If you use logic, you would realize this, but you didn't. I just said you need a certain amount of chakra to perform any feat. It doesn't matter if it's creation or destruction. Well, obviously, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're covering, the feats, but you want to act like you have the know-how of quantifiable numbers as far as creation is concerned. So when you get challenged on it, you start to backpedal. That is the overall issue with this whole conversation. And guys, we're not done. We are not done, and it's actually just about to get funny here, right? So, as we're conversating, someone else joins in the conversation. This person named Claire. Shout out to Claire, because it was a very funny tag team duo, because this guy just wasn't making sense. So he sees that we're having this conversation, she sees we're having this conversation, and she says, prove that creation equals AP in Naruto. He responds with this nonsense. Creation needs a certain chakra output. So if you are able to create a mountain, get this, guys. If you are able to create a mountain with chakra, then you used mountain levels of chakra. Give this man an Emmy. If you are able to create a mountain with chakra, then you used mountain levels of chakra. And again, the useless demonstration board showing us nothing about what he talked about or why that's the case or why it even makes sense. So Claire says, I guess Naruto fanboys just throw up images now without reading them. Facts. There's no way you could have that statement and then put that on the board. There's no way. You cannot say prove that creation equals AP in Naruto and then this be your answer without not understanding what you're reading. So yeah, critical thinking is definitely lacking in the community. When I said that Sishue statement about reading, critical thinking and reading is at an all-time low. Right. So I guess Naruto fanboys just throw up images without reading them. Nowhere does it say you need equal chakra to the size of what you're making. Facts. He says absorbing chakra to create a dimension doesn't mean anything now. And then I also comment, it also tells us nothing about AP. Claire says it's pretty simple that you have no proof, as we've already seen. The panel show it and you use logic. So he's saying the panel shows it and you use logic, but there's nothing connecting his logic to the panel at all. I tell him I genuinely hope you're not part of any serious scaling/debate community, because you would just be embarrassing them and yourself. You're making yourself look very bad, and I will actually be using you in a YouTube video for how not to scale and why critical thinking is important. I think we've demonstrated that with his last statement. Having mountain levels of chakra, I'm gonna read it again. Having mountain levels of chakra equals creation. Oh, no, that's a new statement. Okay, I missed this one. He says having mountain levels of chakra equals creation if you have the ability to do so. He's saying it would also equal your DC, AP, and durability that would also be mountain level as well. Pretty simple. This is just all totally wrong. And I'm not about to sit here and explain and break this down, because number one, for Naruto, it's very nuanced and complicated. They have something called split durability, but we'll be talking about that in some upcoming videos anyway. But yeah, I don't have time. I don't have the time to unpack all this incorrectness. If you know, you know. If not, I'll get with you later. Okay. So he tells me you can counter me. I guess he meant you can't. You can't counter me on any of my points. I don't even think Naruto is uni, only planetary, but you can't even disprove uni. Why run away to like 10 fans saying this guy can't scale when you have the chance to debunk him and decide not to? What did I even say that was wrong? It's disproven by default because there is no uni feats or statements take the L already, but this isn't me, so I will not be too vested in their conversation. Let me go back to where he says some other funny things. Okay, right here. This is why I tell him I will be using him for a video. He says you can use me for your video, but if you can't debunk me now, why should anyone watch a video where you run away and rant at your computer about why this guy is wrong instead of actually proving him? You just look like a coward. Okay, fair enough. I tell him you legit said mountain levels of chakra equals mountain levels for creation. And then I tell him, I want to speak to whoever taught you how to scale, because it's probably not your fault. And what I mean by that is, like I said, critical thinking has not been a staple in the anime community. It really hasn't been. People just hear things, take it and run with it. They don't do their own due diligence. They don't do their own research about why these things may or may not be the case. This is one such case. Mr. Sal Goodman has not been thoroughly vetted. And then it's this thing where everyone can become a freaking scaler now. So now everyone has an opinion. And mind you, I don't have to talk to people like this, but people like this are out there putting misinformation. So, I feel like there is a duty to stop the spread of misinformation, or at least challenge viewpoints. So after I say what I say, mountain levels, I clown him for this, by the way. Mountain levels, this is what you said. Mountain levels of creation, mountain level chakra. If you have chakra, that's a mountain, you can create a mountain. How does this not work? Oh yeah, let's go to reply. So how does this not work? I'll explain to you guys how it doesn't work. Even if you're a Naruto fan, this might be good for you. So what's important is that we were never given values for creation, like ever. So we don't know how much energy it actually takes. Even if you use X amount of energy to create, doesn't automatically mean it follows into AP. What do we mean by this, right? Since we're not given any values for creation, number one, what if it only took about a fireball jutsu's level of chakra to create a planet? What if it only took that much chakra to create a planet, but the ability itself only one person could do? Would you then say that person has a planetary attack when they only used a fireball's level's worth of chakra? So this is what we say by, even if you use X amount, even if you use an unknown amount of energy to create, or we can do it this way. What if it takes a star's worth of chakra to create a planet? Does that mean you can put all of that energy into your attack? No, it does not logically follow because we have not seen it. We have to judge, and this is where I say point number 3. We use feats and scaling to judge AP, not speculation. And his evidence relies heavily on speculation. So, I say what I say. Let's go down to see how he responds. So to my answer, when he asked me, how does this not work? Explain. I explain. You see my explanations. We see his answers. He says the chakra of the people in the infinite Tsukuyomi. So, to my answer to explain, I say we're never given values for creation, like ever, so we don't know how much energy it takes. He says the chakra of the people in the infinite Tsukuyomi. Does anyone know what's wrong with this statement? Does anybody know what's wrong with this statement? Number 1, we don't know if Kaguya used all that chakra in the first place. We don't know that. That's primarily number it. Primarily that's probably it. Yeah, we don't know how much chakra she used in it, first off. Anyways, moving on. Even if you used X amount of energy to create, doesn't automatically mean it falls into AP. Why not? So he doesn't understand that just because you can do something one way doesn't mean you can do it for every way or for a different way. He doesn't understand this. 3, we use feats and scaling to judge AP, not speculation. Your evidence relies highly on it. If it doesn't equate to AP, then what does X amount of energy equate to in AP? A good question. I'll respond again. So let's all have his questions here. So for his answer, the chakra of the people in infinite Tsukuyomi. All right. So first we have to realize all those people have different varying levels of chakra and potencies of chakra. So I ask him, being a smartass, so how much joules or units of energy is 5 chakra? It's a fallacious question, and I know he can't answer it because it's never given to us. So to assert you would know how much energy it takes to create is also just as fallacious because we're never given that information. So yeah, how much joules is 5 chakra? You'll never be able to answer that question. So I don't know why we're talking about creation in the first place. Number 2, why not? What was he asking why not to? Even if you use X amount of energy to create, doesn't automatically mean it falls into AP. Why not? Well, the answer is for any number of reasons, primarily because we don't have any numerical values for creation as opposed to destruction. We can mathematically prove how much energy it takes to destroy something. This does not mean it takes that amount of energy to create something. Number 3, did use feats to base the AP scale. That's what he's saying. And I'm saying, okay, so if you did use feats to base the AP scale, what's the numerical value of said creation? Because if he used a feat to base the AP scale, talking about the creation, we should have actual tangible numbers for that. Right or wrong? And then to answer his last question, if it doesn't equate to AP, then what does X amount of energy equate to in AP? The energy would have to cause some type of damage to know that. That's how we judge AP. By the result of the attack, the damage, what mark it left, to what degree it left the mark. What was destroyed, what impact did it have? That is how we judge AP and DC, to be honest. So he says, 2, it doesn't matter if numerical values is the only way to determine strength, then there is no point in power scaling. It doesn't matter if numerical values is the only way to determine strength, then there is no point in power scaling. And to that I say, I agree. For you, there is no point in power scaling because number 1, you lack the basic understanding of concepts to grasp what's going on in the conversation you're having. Number 2, pretty much everything in power scaling aside from hacks is a numerical value. When we're judging AP, we're looking at how much force you can endure. When we're judging AP, we're looking at how much force you can discharge. When we're judging DC, we're looking at how much destruction you can cause over a large area. All this stuff is calculated. So if you don't want to deal with numbers necessarily, then you don't necessarily want to deal with power scaling, or at least calcing, But anyways, this is when it just becomes like, all right, I'm pretty much done with you. So I tell my friend, I said, remember I said the most polite thing I can do is laugh. That's all I could do. And I tell him I tried, but I don't have the patience to do this. I'm going to end up insulting this kid out of frustration. And then I tell him I'll respond to the last couple things, then I'm out. And I urge him to do more research. He says, insult me because that's the whole thing you're good at, because power scaling isn't your forte. And then I tell him, my friend, you debunked yourself. All you need to do is look at the questions asked and see how you responded. You dropped irrelevant scans and gave nothing quantifiable. You don't know how to think critically or substantiate your points. Completely true and fair to say. He says, prove that they're unquantifiable. Only thing you have done is say you're wrong because your explanation is wrong. You're dodging the question. Is it because you can't debunk or counter it? Like I said, guys, I'm no stranger to being baited at all. I already know what's going on. I've talked to people like this. So it's not going to work on me. So I tell him the burden isn't on me. You're the one claiming X. He's the one that said Naruto is uni, not me. He's the one that said creation equals destruction, not me. So you're the one claiming X, and you haven't showed anything that supports that claim. All you've done is use preschool logic and make things up. For example, mountain levels of chakra equals mountain level durability, and creation, which is totally wrong on both fronts. Yeah, nowhere even in the series does that map onto reality. That's never been stated. That's never been the case. That's never been shown. He just made that up. This is what we have in the community. Sal Goodman's making shit up. He says, I showed you something and you disagreed. I asked why and you don't provide any reason. The burden of proof is on you. If you don't have an argument, just say that. I showed you the panels and explained the implications and you disagreed. You have to give me an explanation why. And he doesn't realize, since the beginning of this, I've been saying it the whole time. None of what you showed can determine the AP. The scans you showed definitely don't correlate to that, and chakra amount has never correlated to durability. You're the one making these fallacious claims, and you have yet to prove them. So yeah. Then he goes into this BS right here. He says Newton's third law. If you exert X amount of energy, then you have to withstand that amount. AP equals durability. You haven't shown me a reason why creation doesn't equal AP. Even when X amount of energy is exerted for both. See, and here's the problem. X amount of energy. He doesn't know the amount of energy exerted for creation at all. We can determine the amount of energy for destruction. We can determine that mathematically. We can prove that because we have the values for it. And he says, you haven't shown me a reason why creation doesn't equal AP. My friend, it's your claim. You said it. I said you can't determine AP off creation, but if you're fighting for that claim, you would have to be the one to prove it. I've already proven my point when I said you can't get any values off of creation. You can't. So he goes into Newton's third law of BS. Can you show me that the third law doesn't work in Naruto? Now, this is an annoying question because when do we ever use real life physics or science in anime? It just gets to the point where it's like, all right, can you show me in real life someone using the Sharingan? Like, this is like, what are we talking about here? But anyways, I play along just a little bit because it's like, all right, let's do this. Lee couldn't withstand the 8th gate. Guy couldn't withstand the 8th gate. Minato got injured by a splinter from his house exploding. Minato was able to pull out half of the Nine Tails chakra, right? And according to him, the Nine Tails, if the Nine Tails can turn the world to ash, I guess half of that would be turning half of the world to ash. So Minato should have a half-world planetary durability, according to this guy. But he got injured by a splinter that was exploding from his house. And then I said Naruto almost died from falling on spikes. This was a Naruto that just defeated Kakuzu and just defeated Pain. So he's well above mountain level, but he almost died from falling on spikes. Then I ask him, do you think Sasuke can tank his Susanoo arrow, his own Chidori? Can Pain survive Chibaku Tensei? Laugh my ass off, because he's asserting that the third law, AP equals durability. If they can cause this much damage, they should be able to take it. This is almost never shown, especially in Naruto, where they're actually a much more squishy verse. Like I said, we'll get into that later. But this is just never shown in Naruto. He says, you know the 8 gates take out the limiters in the body to prevent overexertion, and if you read the panel I showed you, it tells you how stamina is directly linked into chakra control. 8th gate overheats your body and makes it go above your stamina and body's limit. I mean, I don't know what he wants from me. He asked for examples. I gave him clear examples where your AP does not equal your durability. These people couldn't even withstand the energy they were exerting. So this, whether he likes it or not, this debunks his claim of AP equaling durability in Naruto because they can't withstand the weight of their own energy. So, yeah. Like I said, you asked for examples, I provided. Now here come the buts. And they were debunked by the series itself. Those aren't examples. Right. So what else we got for this guy? Do we have anything else to talk about? Can't really tell. Where am I? Hold up. Anyways, I've been rambling for a long time, but circular reasoning, begging the question, burden of proof, what I like to call the burden of truth, and all these things. We got to do better as a community, right? I like to talk to the Naruto guys because sometimes they're really smart, but sometimes like you run into people like Sal Goodman who just don't know what the hell they're talking about, but think they can just start saying things on the internet and people won't challenge them or correct them or So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope we learned something here. I went through this. I was talking pretty fast because this is a very very extemporized video, very off the cuff, kind of improvised, if you will. So if I was talking fast and you didn't get everything, just rewind it. I'll try and have everything matching up. But just for reference, we'll just go over the main things one more time. So, what is begging the question? Begging the question is when a premise in an argument assumes the conclusion. I'll say it again. It is when a premise in an argument assumes the conclusion. What was one of his examples of that? He says, Weekendo. Kaguya can create things which require a energy output suitable. So if someone wants to damage that person, then they need an energy output relative to it. That begs the question, literally and figuratively, what energy output do we need to damage someone who can create universes? It literally begs the question. He never gives us a quantifiable answer to this question. He says, if you have mountain levels of chakra, you can create a mountain. And if you can create a mountain, well, goddamn it, you got mountain levels of chakra. Back to the circular reasoning. I love it. This is great. This is what the community needs. So, yeah, begging the question and circular reasoning, guys. Especially if you're a fan of me and you want to talk in my comments, please avoid these at all costs. Avoid them like the plague. I'm not doing this to be mean or anything, but this is just a learning lesson, to be honest. Let me know if you guys do want more of these. I think they might be pretty fun if I can get a little bit more organized while doing these. These could be pretty fun. So let me know if you guys want more of these. I'm Ab-Stract. This is the Ab-Stract section. And yeah, hey, yo, follow me on Twitter, man. I'm trying to get my Twitter followers up. Follow me on Twitter. And we out.